All right, so now I'm just going to show you into the edit. Currently on screen, we have the Premiere Pro cut. When I edited after work, I used Premiere Pro to just do the editing only, and then I took that export into DaVinci Resolve, and we worked in DaVinci to create this color grade that's on top. It's probably a third more cropped in. Because it was shot in 6K, we could do that, and that was pretty awesome. The thing that you don't think about really, I guess, is the sound. It doesn't look like much, but everything in here is, you know, a decision. And those decisions were, you know, added and taken away many times, reshot, audio, getting the Foley. It took quite a long time. But yeah, it results in an atmosphere that can bring your viewer in a lot more than just a visual can. The first rule for editing is to actually just have a purpose. So going through and doing a pass is a really useful thing to do. Just saying, okay, for the next 30 minutes, I'm just going to focus on the Foley. I'm just going to focus on the dialogue. I'm just going to focus on the extras in the scene. What are they actually doing? Does it make sense? That way you can just save a lot of time instead of just kind of pressing play and being like, oh, this is just heaps of fun. I'm editing, I'm changing things, I'm making decisions. It's creative, it's fun, but it's not really efficient. And you're not focusing on one holistic vision. If you can focus on those individual visions one at a time, then they're all going to be tighter and more fresh and compelling than if you were to try and do them all at once. The other thing that I that I wish I did in this, so you learn from this mistake, is labeling all of your audio files. I was going to lie for the screen capture and just label them, but I wanted to share the mistake that I made. So yeah, having each of these audio files as dialogue, music, Foley, background, room tone, and music. Because when I worked with Matt Neal on this to make the music, we began mixing all of this audio, which is just the audio without the music. And God, it would have been easier if they were labeled, because we had to go through each clip here and move them into layers. And the same can be said for the visual layers as well, like having color coding. I color code other things, like when I make a corporate video, color coding the interview, the B-roll, any sort of montage sequence or graphics. Color coding's great for that, but for this, I was like, oh, I don't really need to do that. I kind of know where everything goes. It's all in my head. And I didn't really have a problem with that. It might be better to color code it, but I didn't really need to for this one. One thing that I liked to do in this film was cut on action. So I used the extras in this to do that. Looking to the background for when was right to cut is a really subtle sort of thing to do, instead of like waiting for something to be done. You know, somebody's like smashing a glass on the bar top. You can just cut right there. It's a nice subtle way to do it. So with this one here, it's kind of that idea where I cut as the motion stops. If we were to drag this clip out, he's going to bring it back up and down and back up and down, but it's just all the way to the bottom, and then he's going to bring it back up, so we cut. Simple. People have short attention spans, so I wanted it to be one thing to the next to keep people's attention. And originally I started the film with this lady here, Bess Fairfax. This was the first shot, was just the piss dribbling from her and then her shouting. But then the thing is like, you want to set up the film to focus on the lead character. You know, who is this guy? What is the story? It's his story, you know. So the shots have to bleed into each other. So we decided to bring it back to this shot, which actually my DOP Mateus just decided randomly after we shot another scene, just to get Bailey sitting on the bed looking out the window. We then created this whole intro where he's getting a rejection from a exhibition. But that being said, I'm still being incredibly concise with the information that we're showing. So it's just rejection, his reaction, he's now walking. And I've cut this down from like 8 seconds to 2, or 8 seconds to, yeah, it's 2 seconds. And then we go into Bess. My original idea when I wrote the script was, this is the first shot, and then you see him. He's walking to work. But who is this guy, you know? So it's a balance between cutting and cutting and cutting and trimming everything and making it seamless and making it fast-paced and engaging, and actually drawing it out and saying this is important, even if it's not very interesting. Because, you know, a shot of a guy sitting on a bed looking out the window, it's not very interesting. It's kind of cliche. I was very worried about having that as like one of the first shots, because I'm like, people aren't going to watch this, you know. But at the same time, it's about building that character. You want your viewers to get into the head and the feet of your characters. And then there's the music, which I love. I walked to work one day and I did actually see a lady who looked just like Bess pissing onto the street, 10 a.m. in the morning, broad daylight. And that was kind of shocking for me. I looked at her. She didn't actually shout at me. That's a bit of poetic license. But I did stand on the street and stare at her for a while, and I was just kind of bewildered. And then I walked to work, and it colored my day for sure. It was a strange experience. So having that straight away kind of sets the tone for the film. Then we have another decision. Bailey, focusing on Bailey. Even though I want to show the chaos of the bar, I still want to show it through Bailey's eyes. So he's in every single shot in this montage sequence. You can see his white shirt in the background of most shots, or he's in the front of the frame. What I wanted to say was, you know, alcohol destroys lots of things. And me as a bartender, like, I drank so much alcohol, it was crazy. And I kind of wanted Bailey to drink alcohol too, but then I explicitly also wanted it to be anti-alcohol. So I was towing the line there between capturing him slowly, you know, degenerating into an alcoholic, or you kind of have him on a moral high ground saying, this is just my job, I'm not actually going to indulge like the customers are, which kind of makes the ending a bit better. He's just he's further removed from it. He's not a hypocrite because he doesn't drink. So we tried to create chaos in the edit by just keeping it real fast, keeping it sharp. And I do add in like smashed bottle sound effects, like mic being dropped, people shouting, laughing, to kind of build that chaos that we didn't really do when we shot the film. Bailey takes a breath. This is like a little leitmotif in the movie of him after, you know, being with people. He takes a breath. And then we can see him here noticing the couple. So when this actually happened to me, I was with a friend and we both intuitively crossed the road to help these people. But I wanted the character here to be alone and face the problem by himself. Okay, a little tip for you. Know exactly how long the makeup is going to take, because we're trying to fake here that this is like 6 in the morning. We did meet up at that time, and the makeup took like 2 hours, and we ended up shooting these shots far later in the day than I would have liked, which is fine. But you know, Mateus color graded this and made this fake sun here to kind of fake that it's early morning. So I edited this scene a couple of different ways. Originally, it was like mainly the wide shot because I wanted to show Bailey taking the keys, going up the stairs, running down the stairs. But then I realized I could actually just do that storytelling with sound effects. So in this next shot, he's down the stairs and helping Gary here. Just did that with sound effects of him running on the staircase. You can do a lot of that in filmmaking, just sort of subtly giving people information, and it doesn't really matter if they don't even pick up on it because you're moving the story forward. This was a scene in the film where these two actors are really reacting from each other, especially Bailey is reacting from David, because the true story here that happened to me was a lot more aggressive, and I was very scared because I walked into this guy in the bus stop. He started asking me if I wanted to have a fight, and I had to sort of try and be confident and say, I'm just catching the bus, leave me alone. And he was just really drunk and aggressive. So here's a little cut. Falling. This is, you know, we just wanted to show that the bartender comes home. He has a very, very brief period of time where he's alone and he can rest. But we don't even let that happen on camera. He falls, and as he falls, we cut to the rubbish bin. It's the same angle. And he's putting rubbish in the bin in his work uniform, and then he's at the bar. You know, he doesn't really have any time to rest. That scene was a bit, my brother, he watched this film a lot, and he said that we should take out this white shot because it's too different from the black bedroom to the red bar. It's too jarring. And maybe he's right. But for me, I really just loved the little idea of him sleeping in the rubbish bin and getting to work. Because in my experience as a bartender, when you get home from a really long shift, you play over these things in your mind. You serve customers, you clean the bar top, you carry things, and you can't really get to sleep, and it's like kind of horrible. So just, showing people that you don't really have a break is what that shot is doing. And it's obviously very subtle, and you probably didn't even see that. You'd only get that through like analysis or something. But it's just these little impressions on the audience that can hopefully, make a holistic and clear vision. Speaking of clear visions, the scar on Megan's head there is an absolute mistake on my part. So the thing I learned with the makeup is to really, actually understand the vision. I told Narul that we wanted her to have, a day-old cut on her head, but I didn't tell her that we're going to need a bandage because it just doesn't make any sense that you would go out in public without covering this up. So that's just a mistake that I made, and hopefully you don't make that mistake too. Just think about what would be realistic when it comes to makeup. So what we did in the edit really is just to crop in to try and cover that. You can see that the full shot is up here, but we just cropped it in to cover that up a bit.